Hello, I'm Gloria Thompson, and I'm here speaking with
Kearani Miller.
on May 25th, 2023. Do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Can you please spell your name as you would like it to appear in this project?
Kearani Miller, Kearani Miller.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and what makes you unique.
Well, I grew up in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I have one sister. I grew up with just my mom and my sister. My dad wasn't really around. What makes me unique, I think my ability to create and adapt to different surroundings.
Tell me a little bit about your experience growing up.
I had a pretty decent childhood, even though my mom struggled with her being a single parent. My sister and I had everything we needed, most of what we wanted. It was a really good childhood. I struggled a lot with my dad not being there, though, not with my mom. So there would be times where I would act out and get in trouble because I was blaming stuff on him, but eventually I got it together. Realized I wanted to make my mom proud, so my acting out, skipping school eventually stopped.
Tell me about how your mom raised you.
She raised me to be honest, um, to have confidence, because a lot of my self-esteem kind of went away in my teen years. And again, I was blaming a lot of my bad decisions on being angry because my dad wasn't there. And she just continued to remind me, I'm here, I'm giving you my best, and I want you to do the same. I want you to be your best in school and with my attitude. And so she really showed me, she really set the example.
Tell me about what it's like in the area where you grew up.
I grew up in Hattiesburg, so it was a lot different from Jackson. I played outside. There weren't gunshots. I had a real peaceful childhood. Peaceful enough that I was allowed to ride my bike around the neighborhood, ride my bike to the local park or store. Just fun memories being in Hattiesburg.
How could you compare it to Jackson?
I think had I lived in Jackson, I wouldn't have had a lot of the opportunities that I had growing up. Extracurricular activities, I don't think I would have participated in a lot of the ones that I had in Hattiesburg. Fencing and archery. I don't see that working with kids in this area today, so I'm not sure if it was here or not back then, but we had a lot of opportunities growing up in Hattiesburg and way more peaceful. It wasn't as, you didn't really fear your children being outside like you kind of have to consider that today with so much going on in the city.
When did you move here to Jackson?
2005, I came to school at Tougaloo. My mom dropped me off, and I've been here ever since.
So tell me about that day you were dropped off.
So we packed up. My mom had a Chevy Trailblazer. We packed up the truck, drove the 2 hours. She actually stayed overnight to kind of help me unpack and get settled. And I remember vividly her pulling out of the driveway, getting ready to leave Tougaloo. And I just stood in the parking lot and cried. That first week, she called me every single day. I called her every single day. And then that went on for about a month. And then after that, I was good. And she had finally got used to me not being there, so she was good.
Did you have any of the classmates at Tougaloo that were from Jackson?
Yes, I had plenty. I actually, my first month at Tougaloo, Katrina happened. And so a lot of the kids and families from Jackson actually took a lot of the kids from other cities in their homes. Like they fed us, they made sure we had clothes, that we were able to call our parents, because I think at that time phone lines were down. So my mom was about to have to do a missing persons report. She couldn't get in contact with me. And so it was only through the families and the students that were from Jackson that I was able to contact my mom, call and let her know that I was okay. And one of them actually turned out to be like one of my good friends still to this day, almost like a brother. So some good people in Jackson, real good people.
Oh, and also during that time, I know it sounds scary. How did that make you feel, having that support?
Good. Like, that was the start of Jackson becoming my second home. Because even with the violence and everything going on, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And I could see community. I could see people really, coming together for students and people that they didn't even know. Like a lot of the families that took us in didn't know us. We could have been criminals, just even though we were young, they didn't have to do what they did. So that was the big beginning of Jackson becoming my second home, really.
Okay, so can you tell me about the difference between your classmates at Hattiesburg and your classmates from Jackson? Was there a difference that you could see?
No. If there's a difference, I would say in how we were raised. Maybe their parents had to take more precautions than my mom took with me, but I don't think it affected the people they turned out to be. They could have been from Hattiesburg just by how they treated other people, how unselfish they were, how giving and caring. Still to this day, like a lot of friendships our freshman year were formed because we had to depend on each other for Katrina, through Katrina. So I don't think there's a difference in personality or the type of person. We just happen to grow up in different places.
Tell me about a typical day in your childhood.
A typical day would include getting up early, going to school. I actually loved every school I attended in Hattiesburg. Going to school, coming home, avoiding homework for about an hour and a half, watching my favorite show, eating cereal before dinner, taking a bath, then doing my homework last. Unless it was a weekend, my mom usually worked on weekends. She worked double on the weekends, so we would go to my grandparents' house, which I used to hate because they lived in the country. And so to make it fun, my mom bought four-wheelers. She bought go-karts, trampolines, swimming pools, so that we would just have something to do. And so grandma's house on a weekend was fun, even though it was in the country. I hated the country and couldn't wait to get back to Hattiesburg, but that's a typical day. Being a kid, avoiding responsibilities.
Can you share some memories from your childhood that stuck out the most?
I would say anytime my family got together, whether it was the 4th of July or Thanksgiving. I remember for Christmas, my grandmother used to always have this Christmas Eve party. And we would go Christmas caroling to like the elderly in the community. We'd make hot chocolate. We'd be on the back of pickup trucks with hay. It was just a whole country scene, but it was so fun. As cold as it was so fun. And I think my sister is actually trying to bring it back this year, but that's something that's really stuck out. I think that's why I like Christmas so much now, is because of the memories my grandma helped create. And we would make little treats and stuff. She would mix cornflakes with like green food coloring. smushed them together and made either Christmas trees or the Christmas wreaths. Just, she was real creative. I think that's how I get some of my creative side from her too.
Did you think her influence on you positively impact you as an adult?
I think so. Definitely. In fact, she's, like, we talk every day. She's just, a good person.
What is something that you can say positive about your parents when you were growing up?
A lot. Let me see. I really don't have any complaints about my mom, because even if she wanted to give up, she never did. We never knew if there was an issue. And she worked overtime for me and my sister. Now, my sister's dad was present, but mine was just completely AWOL. And it's not that he didn't have the means to help my mom, because he was an NFL player. But he chose to just, X me out of his life. And that forced my mama to work all the time to provide basic needs and wants, like Christmas and birthdays. We never wanted or needed for anything. And so for that, I really appreciate her. Especially seeing, how some kids grow up today. It just makes me grateful that I had the mom I did have. Because I see a lot of kids just don't have it. They don't have moms who care about them going to school with clean clothes or eating every day. And my mom made sure we didn't miss a meal and we didn't want for anything.
Tell me about your experience you have with children.
So I started working with kids. It was actually at a mental health facility. And, you kind of see the worst side of kids in that setting. But it was an opportunity to kind of show them, a different way. And you really had to be invested. You really had to be there for helping the children live a better life, because it got tough just seeing the trauma that they had gone through and continue to struggle with at such a young age. That's kind of where kids became my passion. Just seeing how bad it could be for a child just made me want to make the setting and environment around me, whenever kids are present, safe, happy, and comfortable. Because you really never know what situation or environment kids going home to. Even the ones that we work with, if they ask for a hug, I give it to them. Because they may not get it at home. Mm-hmm. Made me just love on them a little harder.
What are your contributions to the children that you work with?
I think my contribution is the love and appreciation I have for them. That's it. Kids don't really require much, and I get almost 100 hugs a day. And I realize a lot of them look for it. Something simple as a hug that I may not think about. They're actually waiting in line, coming down the hall. Hey, Miss Miller. And it picks me up on my bad days. So I know if it does that for me, then I'm sure it does that for them.
With the kids that you work with or around often, how would you describe a typical day with them?
Ooh, full of energy. So by the time I get them, I'm an office manager at Walton. So I handle pretty much the day-to-day operations from 7 to 3. And then from 3 to 5:30, I'm in the classroom. We're doing homework. I'm correcting behavior. I'm pretty much mom, therapist, counselor, just pretty much whatever they need. Tutor between 3 and 5:30 every day.
Who is your support system to help you take care of those kids in the classroom?
I think other after-school teachers, my immediate boss, Miss Fletcher, Miss Partee, like a lot of the classroom management and the environment of the classroom, I kind of got from, them guiding me. Each classroom needs an environment, a setting, the mood, how do I want my kids to conduct themselves. I didn't know it took that much to conduct the classroom. I just thought you can control the kids and everything else comes, but it's really you really building like a miniature community. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that support I get from the leadership here at Operation Shoestring.
Do you have other children in the community that you connect with? Nieces, nephews?
Yep, I have no nieces and nephews, but godchildren, and then a few of the students at Walton have kind of taken to me, and those are a challenge because you don't want to blur the lines between your job description and how you connect with the kids, but they just take to you and depend on you for helping meet their needs, whether it's a backpack or a new pair of shoes. I don't mind helping when it's needed if I can.
Compared to the way that you were raised and other children that are raised today, how do you see a difference?
Mm-hmm. The main thing is cell phones. Like, a lot of my time was spent either, if I was bored, I had to read a book or do a puzzle. Being bored was not an option, especially around my grandmother and aunts. Like my older aunts, it felt like if you had a moment to be bored, then you could be researching or studying something. So we always made ourselves busy. Even if it was a game we made up in the house, we were either doing something or in an extracurricular activity. So it wasn't a lot of time to even get bored, let alone sit around on our cell phones. Like, you were doing something productive, you were learning some life skill, you were just busy developing as a young person. So I think that's a huge difference, because a lot of kids, we had our end of the year picnic for Operation Shoestring, and every child in my second grade class did not want to go outside. And it was like a battle. We really had a discussion about why they didn't want to go outside. We could just be on our phones, and phone was heard consistently throughout that conversation. And so a lot of kids just don't, especially today, they don't like outside. I don't even think they have it's not presented to them as something fun to do. So that's a huge difference to me.
Can you paint a picture of the neighborhood that you live in?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty well known to be a high crime area. Well, used to be known to be a high crime area. But pulling in the neighborhood every day, you may see a few abandoned houses or a few that need to be torn down. You see kids outside riding bikes, neighborhood kids playing basketball, green lawns, dogs playing in the street. So it's kind of you could tell it once was, and it still is, a middle-class neighborhood, but crime definitely creeped in and kind of brought it down, which I'm sure is the same for a lot of the neighborhoods in the Jackson area. Just crept with crime.
How does that make you feel?
Angry, because I feel like, if nothing else, I feel like you should want where you live to be peaceful, to be safe, not just for your children, but the children down the street, the children next door, And several times I've had to call the police. You see young men, young boys walking the street with guns. It's a mix of everything in this neighborhood. It has a lot of potential to really be a good place, but you have those few bad apples that kind of make it unbearable for some people.
How do you think the neighborhood that you live in affects the ability to raise children or support the children in your community?
I think a lot of people in that neighborhood tend to turn a blind eye to some stuff. Not everything, because lately people have been becoming more active in trying to cut down on crime and unnecessary foolishness within the community. But if people can get out of the attitude of, I'm going to mind my business and stay out of it, and start holding the little boys walking the street with guns accountable, I feel like it really has the potential to be a great place to live. But we have to start holding ourselves and other people accountable for the environment we create. Because if we don't say nothing, nothing's going to be done. If we turn a blind eye and it's our child that ends up hurt by this gun that we ignored last week, then who's to blame? We all are. So I think if people just stop minding their own business and start being a community, start being more neighborly, I think it has great potential to improve.
How can we hold people accountable?
I think one way is, and I hate to do this because you see in the media how some police forces react to young black men or black people, period. And so I know it's a battle within me to even reach out to them, because you don't want to feel like you're calling the police on your own. But at the same time, if I don't, that gun that he's walking, what is he going to do with this gun? You know what I'm saying? If I don't alert someone to it or bring attention to it, then am I as guilty as he is because I didn't say something? So it's a constant battle, and I think part of it is just, if you see something, say something. Really. That's a start. Or mentoring to the young black men, giving them something to do. Because if you look at it, it's really them that's causing a lot of the havoc in the community. It's the young black boys who may not have father figures, may not have a good male role model, and they, really just need something constructive to do other than walking the streets with a gun, because nothing good is going to come of that.
How can holding people accountable positively affect the youth in your community?
I think it could bring about a much needed change, whether it's introducing them to something that could bring them up out of that neighborhood and out of that mindset of not having anything to live for, not having anything to look forward to, nothing to work towards. I think they really just need something other than the street life, because that's all they know. If it's all you know and all you see, then how do you expect to become something other than that? So I don't feel like it's all their fault. I don't feel like it's all their parents' fault. I think we're all responsible for them. So just introducing them to something other than street life, whether it's art or sport or books, science, STEM, just something that'll grasp their attention. That could be the change. So more opportunities in the
What are some of the ways you have adapted to the challenges and opportunities you encounter as you support your children in the community?
Realizing that you can't handle children the way our parents handled us. I grew up in a community where if anybody, my mom trusted the community enough that where anybody who saw me misbehaving had the authority to correct me. I think, especially living in Jackson, that sense of community is lost. Even a teacher really didn't have authority to correct a child without mom calling and being on the defense about the teacher telling or asking your child to sit and be quiet. That's a problem. And so there's no sense of community. The parents don't trust the teachers blame the parents, and it's just who's correcting the child? If the teacher isn't and the parent is too busy working to correct them, then who's doing it? And so you have a child left to their own devices and really teaching themselves how to behave. And I think that's the disconnect. Because when I grew up, anybody could correct me, and that's just not the same anymore. So adjusting to that, I think, is the biggest difference I've noticed. Is that you really can't deal with children the way you once could, because there's no sense of community.
How do you think that we can find that sense of community again?
I think it'll take effort on all parties. Anybody dealing with that child has to be able to trust that the other party has the child's best interest at heart, that we're all on the same team, and hopefully change comes about with building that trust. But I think it starts there, because the parent is not going to trust the teacher if, they don't feel like the teacher really cares for the child. So I think it starts with the trust, just rebuilding that.
If you could paint a picture of your ideal community or environment for supporting the children, what would it look like?
The ideal environment. For me, that includes people who look like me. I wouldn't want to be the richest person in the neighborhood. I feel like that paints a target on you if you have too much and the people around you don't. A sense of safety, to not always have to be on guard in my own home. Able to walk outside or walk around the block with my dog or my kid, and just enjoy my neighborhood, enjoy my neighbors. That would be the ideal. It's not a particular place for me. It's more of a feel. That would be ideal.
How it makes you feel?
How it makes me feel.
So is that how it makes you feel in regards to the community, or?
The community. I think it starts with the community. And I think that's probably why I haven't left Jackson in all this time, is because, again, as bad as most people feel like it is, it's a sense of community. Not enough where everyone trusts everyone, but if push comes to shove, you can depend on each other. And I just feel that here. It has the potential to be that way throughout Jackson, but I think there's more trust in the community in certain neighborhoods than others. Yep, and it's because of the people in that community.
What are the hopes for the children in your community?
My hope is that the children in my community are able to go off and see the world and then come back and contribute, however, to the community that, they grew up in. Because I think too many times people, see the world and kind of stay away. And so their resources that they've earned are not used to help maintain or rebuild the community that gave them their start. So yeah, that would be my hope, for them to go off and see the world and then return home.
What contributions do you feel like those students that go off can come back and bring to the community?
It could be knowledge. It could be donation. For example, Mo Williams, who grew up in this neighborhood and graduated from Lanier, is actually, after he went off and played professional basketball, he's now coaching at Jackson State. So his knowledge of that professional world and how to get his students from the Georgetown neighborhood to possibly the NBA so that they too can continue to come back and recontribute. I think it could be anything, money, knowledge, time, art. It could be anything, really.
Is there anything else you would like to add that I didn't ask about?
Nope, you pretty much covered it all.
Okay. How do you predict that parents or caretakers will be raising their children in generations from now?
I predict that people are going to realize it really does take a village to raise their kids and hopefully get back to some of the old ways of raising children, where your teacher, your aunt, your neighbor, are trusted with your child enough to help raise them the right way.
What new obstacles will they face when it comes to new opportunities that they may have?
It may be getting used to having those opportunities, especially when you've grown up so much and you don't see a lot. You may think, oh, well, what's the catch? Or is it really as good as it, seems? So just expecting the best, expecting the opportunities to come and taking advantage of them.
How can someone expect the best when it comes to their community and things like that?
I think it starts with the mindset, the people in contact with the child or the parent, just instilling in them that you deserve it. Because a lot of times people blow great opportunities because they don't feel like they're deserving of them. Maybe they haven't seen them, maybe they're just not used to it, but instilling in the kids that we come in contact with, you are deserving of anything great, anything wonderful, and if it comes your way, take advantage of it. Do your best and take advantage of it. So it starts with the mindset. And I think I try to do that daily with my kids, even if it's something as simple as them learning how to tie their shoes. I had a kid that was second grade and didn't know how to tie his shoe. And he never attempted to learn. And I think it was because his mom always did it for him. In the beginning of the day, he could ask a peer or whoever. He was never expected to learn how to do it himself. And once I started requiring that of him and telling him, hey, you're smart enough to learn how to tie your shoe, he actually put forth the effort, and just to see the smile on his face when he actually got that down it was a good day for him. I was happy to have been a part of helping him. And it took the whole class. Anytime you have to recruit the kids to help the other kids. And that's a part I feel like of creating the community in your classroom. If one peer is struggling, we don't laugh at them or pick at them. We help them, encourage them. And I think he, within a month, was tying his shoes on his own.
That's good.
Really. I was really proud of him. He got McDonald's that day. He did. He deserved it. But yeah, just instilling in them that they're capable of anything and deserving of anything great. Starts with the mindset.
Do you have any other stories of students that you felt like you had an impact on or they had an impact on you?
No. Not off the top of my head, no.
Not off the top of your head?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I can't think of anything.
What is something that warms your heart about being able to closely connect with those kids in your community?
Just seeing how they trust me. You know, kids are very good judges of character. And so if you're on crazy stuff, they can sense it. And they can sense when you are for them and when you're not. And having my kids really trust me to be good to them and do right by them, I think is a reward within itself. Because they don't trust everybody. And if you are, you know, a person that they know doesn't like them or really doesn't care, that they learn how to tie their shoes, they're going to respond to you that way. And it's going to be hard to build trust with them.
Okay, I'm kind of switching topics a little bit. How do you feel like the parents could contribute to making or pushing history to their children?
I think by sharing their own history with their kids. I think it starts there and making sure they know who they are and where they come from so that they can then share it with the next generation. Yep. So sharing their own history with their children.
Do you think history is important for a child?
Absolutely. I think it's important for them to know, but sometimes I think people get caught up in, well, that's just, that just runs in my family. So I don't want it to be a hindrance, but for educational purposes, yes, they should know. But it shouldn't be something they try to live up to. Yeah.
How did knowing your history positively impact you?
Ooh, it made me interested in more history. It made me ask questions and dive deeper into where we came from and how we got here in Hattiesburg there in Hattiesburg. So it piqued my interest, if nothing else. Definitely.
In what ways do you think that sharing your own stories and ideas would benefit children in the future generation?
Maybe I could be an inspiration. Maybe something in my story, they could relate to that would help them overcome. Especially with and I keep going back to that, but a lot of kids I know grow up without their dad. So if something in my story can inspire them to keep pushing despite their father not being around, then I will feel like I've done something good.
Okay, so I had a nice time interviewing you, and have a good day.
Thank you.